If you're tuning in, chances are you're maybe looking for ways to manage uh, that background hum of anxiety that so many of us feel these days. What if one answer, maybe a surprising one, was actually hiding in your kitchen, in your fridge? Today, we're doing a deep dive into Sarah Wilson's work, specifically her book, The Anti-Anxiety Diet. It makes a really compelling case for a link between our food and our mental state.
That's right. Our mission today is, well, to really unpack the science, how diet, gut health, inflammation, how these things might directly influence anxiety. And we'll look at a practical 2-week plan from the book designed to tackle this, drawing insights straight from the source material.
Okay, let's start with the big picture. This age of anxiety everyone talks about. The numbers are pretty sobering.
They are. Globally, it's something like 1 in 13 people dealing with an anxiety-related illness.
And here in the West, it's even higher. 1 in 6 people will face it. It's actually the most common diagnosed mental illness.
Yeah. And you see it reflected online, too. Google searches for anxiety, up 150% in just 8 years. It's clearly on people's minds.
Definitely. And our understanding of what causes it is shifting too, isn't it?
It really is. For, maybe 20 years, the main idea was chemical imbalances in the brain, serotonin, things like that. But now, more recent science is pointing towards inflammation, widespread inflammation, and also imbalances in our gut microbiome.
So it's not just in the head, so to speak.
Exactly. And that's quite hopeful, really, because it suggests that maybe the fix or part of the fix involves simpler things like changes to diet and lifestyle.
Which brings us to Sarah Wilson's own story. It's quite powerful. She talks about having lifelong anxiety alongside autoimmune issues like Hashimoto's. And she apparently hit a real low point back in 2011. Couldn't work, couldn't even walk properly for, what was it, 9 months?
That's right, 9 months, a really difficult time. And it pushed her to experiment, to try cutting something out.
And that's something with sugar. Just for 2 weeks initially.
It's just 2 weeks. But the effects were, well, profound. Physically, her autoimmune markers dropped to 0. She lost weight, her skin cleared up, even reversed infertility issues she'd been diagnosed with.
Wow.
But the biggest thing for her, the most significant change, was her anxiety. That constant beige buzzing, as she calls it, it just eased, faded, softened.
Okay, so let's unpack this inflammation idea.
Yeah.
Because that seems really central to her experience. How does the source explain it?
Well, think about when you get a splinter. Your body reacts, right? Redness, swelling, that's inflammation. Your immune system sends out these proteins, cytokines, to deal with the intruder.
Right, normal response.
Exactly. But the problem is when this becomes chronic, when the intruders are things like, say, sugar or heavily processed foods that we eat constantly, the immune system stays switched on, pumping out cytokines.
And that chronic inflammation isn't just physical.
No, that's the crucial link. It can lead to autoimmune diseases, sure, but also mood disorders, like anxiety and depression.
So mood disorders could be like an allergic reaction to inflammation.
That's one way researchers are looking at it, yes. Some studies even show adding anti-inflammatory drugs to antidepressants helps people with depression or bipolar disorder improve more significantly.
That's fascinating.
And think about this. Even healthy people can feel temporarily anxious or down after getting an inflammatory vaccine, like for typhoid. It shows that direct link.
And this connects to our gut, the microbiome.
Absolutely. That community of bacteria in our gut influences so much our metabolism, our immune system, and yes, our nervous system, including emotional behavior and how we handle stress.
Ah, so this is the fire in the gut, fire in the brain idea.
Precisely. When our lifestyle choices, diet being a huge one, upset the balance of good and bad gut bacteria, it triggers these inflammatory reactions. Those reactions then send signals back up to the central nervous system, causing inflammation in the brain. And that messes with our neurotransmitters, leading straight to feelings of anxiety. It's a loop.
Right, which leads to a pretty direct question the source poses. If you're eating more than, say, 6 teaspoons of sugar a day, could that be fueling your anxiety?
It's a major factor, according to Wilson. Sugar really does a number on your microbiome. It feeds the bad bacteria, suppresses the good guys.
Okay.
This imbalance can slow down how quickly food moves through you, leading to bloating, constipation, more gut issues.
And presumably it affects more than just the gut. Energy levels, maybe?
Oh, absolutely. Sugar is flagged as the #1 contributor to obesity, which has its own set of health problems. And it sends your blood sugar on a wild ride. You get that spike, then the crash, which leaves you feeling exhausted, depleted, stressed.
Yeah, that roller coaster feeling.
And here's something critical. When your body processes sugar, It uses up vital nutrients. Mood-enhancing B vitamins get depleted. Chromium, which helps stabilize blood sugar, gets diverted. You're burning through the very things you need to feel
So
calm.
you're actively working against yourself, in a way.
In a way, yes.
Yeah.
And there are other effects too. Fructose, a type of sugar, can inhibit uric acid excretion, and high uric acid has links to bipolar disorder. Wilson describes sugar as feeding this clutching, grasping, anxious cycle. It's addictive, she argues. There's no off switch in our brain for it.
And if you're already anxious,
It's even worse. Sugar spikes cortisol, your stress hormone. That impairs nutrient absorption, contributes to weight gain, lowers bone density, increases risk of chronic diseases. It just pours fuel on the fire.
okay, that's a pretty bleak picture for sugar. But the good news is there's a proposed solution here. The anti-anxiety diet.
Yes. And importantly, it's not framed as a weight loss diet, though that might happen. The immediate goals are different. 1, recalibrate your appetite, especially to break that sugar addiction. 2, reduce inflammation throughout the body. And 3, repair your gut microbiota. It's all geared towards mental and physical well-being.
And I like the philosophy of mission. It's more about what you do eat, crowding out the bad stuff rather than just focusing on what you can't have. That
Yeah.
feels more positive, especially if you're already feeling anxious.
That's key. When you're anxious, feeling deprived or restricted can be really counterproductive. This approach feels more empowering, more about adding nourishment.
So let's get practical. What's step 1?
Unsurprisingly, after everything we've said, quit sugar. The source really emphasizes that for most people, you need to stop completely, at least for a while, to reset those appetite and hormone signals.
Okay. And those recommendations for daily limits are quite low, aren't they? 6 teaspoons added sugar for women, 9 for men, only 3 for kids.
Very low compared to what many people consume. So, practical tips to start. Ditch the fruit juice. It's often got as much sugar as soda.
Right.
Avoid low-fat dairy products. When they take out the fat, they often add sugar back in for flavor and texture.
So the key.
Very. And watch out for healthy cereals and granolas. Some have as much sugar as a chocolate bar per serving.
So reading labels is crucial. How do we do that effectively?
Okay, simple math. Look at grams of sugar on the label. Divide that number by 4.2. That gives you the teaspoons per serving. Always check the serving size listed. It might be much smaller than you actually eat.
Good point.
Aim for foods with less than 5% sugar overall, if you can. Quick note on dairy. The first roughly 11 grams per cup, or 4.7 grams per 100 grams, is naturally occurring lactose. That's generally fine. It's the sugar added above that you need to watch.
Got it. And you mentioned gluten earlier.
Yes, the source suggests avoiding gluten where possible if you're anxious. It can potentially limit tryptophan absorption. That's an important amino acid for mood. It can also trigger gut inflammation in sensitive people, contains compounds called glutamorphins, which can be addictive, and, while gluten-heavy foods often displace more nutrient-rich options, so something to consider.
Okay, so step 1 is tackle the sugar, maybe gluten too. What do we add in? The source mentions tryptophan and tahini.
Yes, focusing on the building blocks for your brain. Neurotransmitters, those mood chemicals, are made from amino acids. Tryptophan is a really key one for mood regulation. It's a precursor to serotonin.
Where do we find tryptophan?
Think turkey, chicken, bananas, milk, oats, cheese, soy, nuts, peanut butter, and sesame seeds, hence the tahini mention. The advice is to aim for about 3 servings of protein daily to get enough. A serving could be 2 eggs, a palm-sized piece of meat or fish, a handful of nuts, a couple of tablespoons of nut butter, half a cup of beans or legumes, or a cup of full-fat yogurt.
Full-fat yogurt keeps coming up.
Yes, fat is important, as we'll see. And interestingly, the source highlights grass-fed, red meat, and free-range eggs. They tend to have higher levels of beneficial omega-3 fatty acids compared to conventionally raised options, which is great for mental health.
Okay, omega-3s. That leads nicely into the next tip. Eat fish.
Exactly. Nutritional deficiencies often seen in people with anxiety include omega-3s, B vitamins, and amino acids. Oily fish are packed with omega-3s.
Which types are best?
Salmon, herring, anchovies, sardines, all those smaller oily fish are great. They're considered quite uplifting for mood. Aim for 2 to 3 servings a week, or maybe 1 serving of oily fish, plus 1 of white fish, and several eggs throughout the week.
And there's a note about wild-caught versus farmed.
Yes, wild-caught is generally recommended due to potentially lower levels of mercury and PCBs, which can accumulate more in farmed fish and larger predatory fish like swordfish or tuna. Something to be mindful of.
Good to know. Okay, moving on from fish, we have yogurt and sauerkraut. Probiotics for gut health.
This is huge for the gut-brain axis. Probiotics directly influence those vagal nerve pathways connecting gut and brain. They can impact GABA levels, that's your main calming neurotransmitter, and they help lower stress hormones. Studies have actually shown regular yogurt consumption can reduce social anxiety symptoms and lead to measurable changes in brain chemistry.
That's impressive. How much are we talking?
About a cup of full-fat plain yogurt daily. And maybe half a cup of sauerkraut. With sauerkraut, start small, like a forkful or two, and build up. It's potent stuff for your gut.
Right, ease into it. Next up, turmeric, often called nature's healer.
It really is amazing stuff. It has antibacterial, antifungal properties. It's a digestive aid packed with antioxidants, good for the liver, helps normalize blood sugar.
But the big one for anxiety is its anti-inflammatory power.
Absolutely. It inhibits the key enzyme involved in inflammation. Studies suggest it has anti-anxiety and even antidepressant effects. Curcumin, the active compound, performs similarly to Prozac in some research for depression.
That's quite a claim. How do we use it effectively?
Key thing, eat it with fat. Curcumin is oil-soluble, so adding it to dishes with olive oil, coconut oil, ghee, etc. helps absorption. Also, pair it with black pepper or cumin. They contain piperine, which significantly boosts bioavailability. Aim for around 3 teaspoons of fresh or ground turmeric daily.
Okay, and there was a mention of Ayurveda.
Yeah, just a quick note. In Ayurveda, turmeric, often paired with naturally sweet root vegetables like carrots or sweet potato, is seen as very calming, helping to balance Vata energy, which is linked to the nervous system and anxiety when it's out of whack.
Interesting connection. All right, what about fats in general? Tip number 6 is eat healthy fats.
Yes. Forget the low-fat craze of the past. Healthy fats are crucial. One study mentioned found people getting around 41% of calories from fat, recorded less anxiety and anger, better mood overall.
But the type of fat matters.
Right. Critically important. Avoid trans fats and hydrogenated oils like the plague. They're linked to increased risk of mood disorders.
So what should we eat?
Think olive oil, butter, coconut oil, avocados, nuts, seeds. The recommendation is roughly a quarter cup of each daily, maybe distributed across meals. So olive oil on salad, butter on veg, coconut oil in cooking, some avocado or nuts as part of a meal.
And healthy fats can even feature in desserts.
Absolutely. The source mentions a cheesecake recipe using nuts and healthy fats. These fats help balance the insulin response even from natural sweeteners and increase satiety, so you feel satisfied and are less likely to overeat.
Smart. Okay, tip 7. Leafy green vegetables. Kale, spinach, chard. The usual suspect.
Powerhouses. They provide essential minerals, B vitamins, antioxidants, all vital for mood regulation.
And there was a study with teenagers.
Yes, anxious teens who simply added an extra serving of greens daily showed reduced anxiety. It's a simple but powerful intervention.
How many servings should we aim for?
The goal is to work up to 7 to 9 servings of all vegetables a day eventually. Start with maybe 3 to 4 servings of leafy greens specifically.
Okay, build up gradually. And the final dietary tip, eat stock, homemade stock.
This is presented as one of the absolute best things for gut healing. It improves digestion, helps heal the gut lining, reduces inflammation. It's described as calming for stress, even calming an anxious soul. The recommendation is simple. Drink 1 cup of good quality, ideally homemade, stock daily.
So those are the 8 main food tips. What about drinks? Coffee comes up a lot with anxiety.
It does. Excessive caffeine, technically defined as like 10 cups a day, which is a lot, can definitely increase anxiety, restlessness. It also depletes B vitamins and can weaken adrenal glands over time.
But even less than that can be an issue for some people.
For sure. Even 1 cup might be too much if you're sensitive. And coffee withdrawal can actually mimic anxiety symptoms, which is confusing.
All right.
Some reports even suggest quitting coffee completely resolved anxiety for patients when other treatments hadn't worked, so it's worth considering your intake.
What about alcohol?
Limit it. Ideally, no more than 1 glass per day, preferably red wine with dinner, is the advice.
And water. Simple but important.
Crucial. Minimum of 8 8-ounce glasses daily. And sip it between meals, not necessarily with meals, as that can dilute digestive juices.
Okay, so putting it all together,
Yeah.
there's a 2-week meal plan outlined.
Yes, it's designed to be practical. It starts with a Sunday cook-up, prepping grains, roasting veggies, making stock for the week ahead. Dinners are planned so leftovers become the next day's lunch. You incorporate that daily cup of stock, the sauerkraut.
And a key rule,
Yeah.
no snacking,
Hmm.
except maybe stock.
That's the guideline. It encourages eating satisfying meals and breaking the habit of constant grazing, which can keep blood sugar unstable. It also strongly emphasizes mindful eating, no screens, no distractions, just focus on your food.
The mindful eating part sounds important, though maybe challenging.
It is, and to track progress, the source suggests logging things, not just food, but cravings, your mood, how full you feel, your energy levels, especially mid-afternoon. Are your thoughts clearer?
And be prepared for maybe some detox symptoms initially.
Possibly, yeah. Especially coming off sugar and processed foods. Headaches, fatigue, irritability can happen, but usually pass within a few days.
How long until you might notice a difference?
The plan is 2 weeks, and many people feel a significant shift in that time. But for really embedding new habits and kicking sugar for good, an 8-week commitment. So 4 cycles of the plan is recommended.
Okay, so we've covered a lot of ground on the diet itself, really practical stuff. But the source material also encourages us to think more broadly about anxiety, doesn't it? To kind of question the framework itself.
It does. It points out, for instance, that anxiety only got its formal classification in the DSM, the Diagnostic Manual, in 1980. Obviously, people felt anxious before then, but it wasn't defined as a disorder in the same way.
And there are so many different theories about where it comes from. Childhood trauma affecting brain development, low serotonin, low anandamide. That's the bliss molecule, right?
That's right. Or even genetic things like problems with the MTHFR gene or issues producing glutathione leading to high mercury, like the Mad Hatter idea.
But the really critical point made
Is
is
that you can have all of those potential factors, the genetics, the difficult childhood, the biochemical blips, and still never actually develop an anxiety disorder. None of them automatically equals a diagnosis.
that really does make you think differently. It challenges the idea of a simple cause and effect.
Exactly. And it leads to a critique of the medical model, or at least how it's sometimes applied.
Like the timing you mentioned, anxiety gets classified in 1980, just as the first specific anti-anxiety drugs are being developed.
Right. Or that big social anxiety disorder campaign in 1999. Imagine you were allergic to people.
Terrible tagline.
Awful. But it got huge media coverage just as Paxil was released, the first drug approved for social anxiety. And the drug company was backing the awareness campaign. It raises questions about how conditions get defined and promoted.
And the diagnostic process itself isn't exactly clear-cut either.
No. Studies show psychiatrists often don't agree on diagnoses even using the same manual. There are no definitive biological tests, like a blood test for anxiety.
So the chemical imbalance theory we hear so much about.
It's largely unproven as a direct cause. Is it a cause, or is it an effect of being anxious? We don't really know for sure. Doctors acknowledge it's complex, not an exact science. Yet sometimes medication is presented as a simple fix.
Which leads into what the source calls the cruel ironies of anxiety. Let's touch on those. Number one.
Cruel irony, #1, is that anxious behavior, being hyper-busy, stressed, high-strung, often gets rewarded in our culture. Being crazy busy is almost a status symbol.
Right, so we don't see it as a problem, or we deny it. And we cope by, well, doubling down on the anxiety, more coffee, more sugar, working even harder rather than slowing down.
Exactly. It mentions even things like bulimia sometimes being less about food and more a way to physically purge overwhelming anxiety.
Wow. Okay, cruel irony, #2.
This is the high-functioning anxiety paradox. We look super capable, efficient, always getting things done. But underneath, it's often driven by fear and avoidance of the deeper issues.
And because we look capable, the world asks more of us.
Precisely. People lean on us when what we actually need is support, someone else to take the reins sometimes. We might seem social, but cancel plans last minute or just disappear, and people assume we're just too busy.
Yeah, I can see that. And the third cruel irony involves sleep, or lack of it.
Ah, yes, insomnia. Anxiety's spiteful bedfellow.
Yeah.
Less sleep ramps up anxiety. More anxiety makes sleep harder. It's a vicious cycle.
And trying not to think about being unable to sleep just makes it worse.
That's the ironic process theory. By trying hard not to think about something, your brain has to keep checking if you're thinking about it, which keeps you alert and focused on the very thing you're trying to avoid, like sleep.
Ugh, that sounds exhausting. But there's a suggested reframing for insomnia.
Yes, a potentially helpful one.
Yeah.
Instead of just seeing it as a failure to sleep, maybe view it as a cry from our core to spend reflective time with ourselves. Maybe it's our mind's way of saying, hey, we need to process some things we've been avoiding. It's not that you can't sleep, but maybe you haven't given yourself the quiet space to just think during the day.
So it shifts it from a problem to maybe an opportunity for self-reflection.
Potentially. Finding ways to feel held, to trust that things will be okay, that life has this one. It's about shifting from feeling powerless about sleep to finding some agency or understanding within it.
Now, it's crucial to say, and the source acknowledges this, that traditional approaches like medication and therapy absolutely have value. They can be essential, a lifeline.
Absolutely. They can provide stability, a safe space, tools to cope while you work on other things. This isn't about dismissing those.
But the core idea seems to be, given the lack of definitive answers about causes and cures, there's an opportunity here. An opportunity to explore other avenues, like the dietary changes we've discussed.
Exactly. Taking steps with diet and lifestyle puts a degree of control back in your hands. It's empowering. It's something tangible you can do.
So as we wrap up this deep dive, thinking about the diet, the science, but also these broader questions and cruel ironies, here's a final thought from the source to consider. Perhaps the problem, sometimes, is the notion that there's a problem. What if we shifted perspective? Instead of seeing anxiety only as a disorder to be fixed or eliminated, what if we saw it as something to understand, maybe integrate, perhaps even find ways to thrive with, alongside these proactive wellness strategies? It certainly opens up a different way of thinking about it.